The greatest transfer in the history of modern football has officially become the most catastrophic, humiliating mistake Real Madrid has ever made. The Santiago Bernabéu is currently engulfed in an unprecedented institutional crisis, and the uncomfortable, terrifying truth is finally leaking out from the boardroom. Florentino Perez officially regrets signing Kylian Mbappé. What was supposed to be the crowning achievement of a new Galactico era has rapidly devolved into a complete tactical disaster, a dressing room nightmare, and a staggering financial waste. The French superstar, who arrived with the arrogant expectation of dominating world football, has instead become the singular catalyst for Real Madrid's spectacular downfall, proving that sometimes the most expensive free transfer in history is the one that costs a club its very soul. This is no longer just a temporary dip in form or a difficult adaptation period. This is the complete, undeniable demise of Kylian Mbappé as the undisputed best player in the world. The brutal reality is that while Mbappé has been busy padding his statistics against lower-level competition in La Liga, his former club, Paris Saint-Germain, has completely moved on without him. In a twist of absolute poetic justice that has left the Spanish capital completely humiliated, PSG won the Champions League in Mbappe's very first season away, while Ousmane Dembélé captured his first career Ballon d'Or. And now, as Real Madrid stares down the barrel of a second consecutive trophyless season, PSG is marching back to the Champions League final, proving definitively that Mbappé was never the solution. He was the problem all along. The internal panic at Real Madrid has reached a boiling point, and the scrutiny surrounding Florentino Perez's personal project is absolutely deafening. Club sources are now openly questioning whether bringing the Frenchman to the Bernabéu was the right move, especially when Vinicius Jr. was already established as the undisputed star of the attack. The decision to force Mbappé into a system that didn't need him has completely unbalanced the side, creating a massive tactical headache that has already consumed 3 successive managers. Carlo Ancelotti, Xabi Alonso, and now Álvaro Arbeloa have all desperately tried and spectacularly failed to create a cohesive structure that accommodates massive egos without sacrificing the team's defensive integrity. The most damning indictment of Mbappe's catastrophic spell in Spain is his absolute failure on the European stage. Real Madrid is a club defined entirely by its success in the Champions League, yet with Mbappé leading the line, they have become a shadow of their former selves. In his 25 Champions League appearances for the club, Real Madrid has suffered a staggering 10 defeats, including humiliating knockout eliminations at the hands of Arsenal and Bayern Munich. When the lights shine brightest and the stakes are highest, the player who was brought in specifically to win European Cups has consistently vanished, leaving his teammates to desperately try and cover for his glaring tactical deficiencies. This European humiliation was perfectly encapsulated during the brutal two-legged tie against Bayern Munich, where Mbappé was completely and utterly outclassed by Michael Olise. While Mbappé wasted crucial chances and contributed absolutely nothing to the overall build-up play, Olise systematically dismantled the Real Madrid defence, cooking Alvaro Carreras in the first leg before dispatching the final devastating goal past Ferland Mendy in the second. The contrast was absolutely staggering. Olise showcased elite passing, relentless work rate, and intelligent progression, while Mbappé looked entirely lost, unable to even play his striker position to an adequate level. This is a glaring flaw that legends like Thierry Henry and Cristiano Ronaldo have been pointing out for over a year. The wider footballing world has already seen past the Mbappé myth, and the official recognition of his decline has finally arrived in a massive, humiliating snub that has sent shockwaves through the French camp. The UNFP officially awarded Michael Olise the title of Best French Player Abroad for the 2025-26 season, completely bypassing Mbappé. While Real Madrid fans are naturally loath to admit that a European rival possesses a superior talent, the reality is undeniable. Ois has elevated himself into a legitimate Ballon d'Or contender alongside Harry Kane, while Mbappé continues to shirk responsibility, acting smaller and smaller when the status of a Real Madrid striker demands absolute greatness. But the disaster extends far beyond tactical failures and European embarrassments. Mbappé has become an absolute PR nightmare for the club. For the first time in his carefully curated career, his attitude, commitment and professionality are being seriously questioned by the very people who pay his astronomical wages. While recovering from a persistent injury that forced him to miss crucial high-stakes fixtures against Manchester City and Benfica, Mbappé chose to take a highly controversial holiday with his partner. He returned to Madrid mere minutes before his teammates faced Espanyol, a blatant display of disrespect that infuriated the dressing room and left the club's hierarchy absolutely seething.
The staggering lack of commitment reached its absolute nadir during the climactic El Clasico against Barcelona, while his teammates were being systematically dismantled in a 2-0 defeat that effectively ended their La Liga hopes. Mbappe's only contribution was a hollow Madrid Instagram post published when the team was already 2 goals down. His camp desperately tried to dismiss the ensuing criticism as an overinterpretation of a club-supervised recovery period, but the damage was already done. Behind the scenes, massive flashpoints have erupted between the French star and Arbeloa's coaching staff, exposing a toxic, fractured environment where player power has completely overridden institutional authority. The financial implications of this disaster are absolutely staggering. While Mbappé arrived on a free transfer, the reality is that his astronomical signing bonus, unprecedented wages, and massive image rights concessions have made him one of the most expensive investments in the history of the sport. Real Madrid mortgaged their financial flexibility and disrupted their entire wage structure to accommodate a player who has delivered absolutely nothing of substance. The club essentially paid a premium to destroy their own tactical balance, alienate their existing superstars, and plunge the dressing room in.
The French forward must now justify his prominent place at the heart of a faltering project before the situation deteriorates into a complete, irreversible catastrophe. But given his absolute refusal to adapt, his glaring positional flaws, and his apparent lack of genuine commitment to the Real Madrid crest, the chances of a miraculous turnaround seem incredibly slim. Florentino Perez is now facing the most difficult, humiliating reality of his legendary presidency. The man who built the Galactico empire must now look in the mirror and admit that his ultimate personal project has been a spectacular, unmitigated failure. Real Madrid officially regrets signing Kylian Mbappé, and the entire footballing world is watching as the biggest club on the planet desperately tries to figure out how to escape the massive, expensive trap they built for themselves. The dream is dead, the reality is toxic, and the nightmare in Madrid is only just beginning. The internal power struggle that Mbappe's arrival ignited has completely fractured the dressing room, creating a toxic divide that threatens to tear the squad apart.
This resentment is not just limited to the attacking players. The defensive unit has also suffered immensely from Mbappe's presence. The Frenchman's notorious reluctance to track back and contribute to the defensive phase has left the midfield and defence constantly exposed, forcing players like Jude Bellingham and Federico Valverde to run themselves into the ground to cover his massive tactical gaps. This unsustainable workload has directly contributed to the team's defensive fragility and the alarming number of injuries they have suffered this season. The players are exhausted, frustrated, and increasingly vocal about their displeasure, leading to the shocking training ground altercations that have recently made headlines around the world. The contrast between Mbappe's current situation and the success of his former club is perhaps the most bitter pill for Real Madrid to swallow. When Mbappé left PSG, the narrative was that he was finally escaping a dysfunctional environment to join a well-oiled winning machine. Instead, the exact opposite has happened. PSG, freed from the massive financial and tactical burden of catering to Mbappé, has flourished into a cohesive, dynamic team that is currently dominating Europe. Meanwhile, Real Madrid has inherited all of the toxicity and drama that previously plagued the French champions, proving that the problem was never the environment, it was the player himself. As the summer transfer window approaches, Florentino Perez finds himself in an impossible situation. Admitting defeat and attempting to sell Mbappé after just 2 seasons would be a massive, humiliating blow to his legacy.